As far as every other route in Veadawoo, it's harder than any other off-width they've done in Veadawoo, including probably all the hardest 12s and maybe the 13s, because it's definitely more scary. It's far more committing. There's a good chance of a factor 2 fall onto your belayer in the first 15 feet, which takes some of the fun out of the climb. And it's an incredibly tight squeeze with really bad gear through extremely strenuous vertical off-width climbing. And I know from the ground it looks like I'm crawling on my belly and that it's all casual, but it's extremely steep, and the inside of the crack smells really bad. The gear all falls out as you go past it, and then after you've done that for 40 feet and are absolutely physically crushed, you have to step onto a very delicate face with flared fingers and flared hands to make the last move around the corner. My name is Pamela Shanti Pack, and we are in Veadawoo, Wyoming, under Bob Scarpelli's masterpiece, Jihad, which is rated 511D, 511D/13 plus. I would say that it was soul-crushing to an extent that I've never experienced, so I'm still recovering from the terror. I mean, climbing into the start of that's like climbing into hell. So the squeeze chimney is like nothing I've ever encountered. Normally squeeze chimneys feel pretty solid. 5'8", your body's wedged in there, so what's the worst that could happen? In this particular squeeze chimney, I found out what the worst case scenario is. I got bit by a bat and ended up having a month of rabies vaccines. And I got my chest so badly stuck in the root that I've been having horrible nightmares and haven't been able to sleep for 2 weeks. I wanted to contact Bob Scarpelli because the ratings seemed so drastically wrong that I really wondered if I was on the same climb that he was. And I did send him a note, and I said, Bob, did you climb this thing left or right? Because this is the hardest off-width I've been on in Veadawoo, and likely harder than, like I said, harder than all the modern 13s. And he agreed. He said it was a terrifying climb, that he was really scared. It turns into a tight 6, and you have to down climb towards your belayer. And the method I've come up with for exiting the squeeze is just fantastic. It could be one of the best aspects of the route, is reaching around a corner, grabbing a jug, dropping off it, and doing a 270-degree swing, hooking my knee over my head and pivoting right side up on it. So throwing in some real modern off-width circus tricks. So it's a nice combination, blue collar grovel to super modern invert style pivot. I would say that Jihad is the most difficult route I've ever tried to on-site, because normally you can look up a vertical off-width and say, wow, this is all 5s, this is all 4s. This one you can't see into the crack. You're in there with the wrong gear, and you can't tell what the gear is, so I'm crawling through this thing with like a rack of 20 cams, none of them fit, and then like a few aliens. You have no idea if it's a 9-inch crack, a 6-inch crack, or where it goes. And I was fortunate I had somewhat the correct gear, but at the very end of the route, I had no gear whatsoever, and I wasn't willing to commit to the last move with no gear. highlight of climbing Jihad is watching your belayer clean it. That's really actually pretty funny. And scary. Like the chickens.